Officer Elena Rivera paced beneath the flickering street lamp, her breath visible in the December chill. A call had crackled through her radio. Suicide threat, Old Mill Clock Tower. The tower, abandoned for decades, loomed like a skeletal hand against the moonlit sky. She climbed the rusted stairs, each creak echoing the weight of the moment. At the top, a teenager, trembling in a threadbare jacket, stood on the ledge. Elena didn't recite protocol. She whispered about her own brother, lost to depression, and the tattoo on her wrist. Stay for the sunrise. Dawn broke as the girl collapsed into her arms, sobbing. 3 months later, a letter arrived at the precinct. I start college next week. Thank you for seeing me. Elena tucked it beside her brother's photo, a silent pact renewed. K9 Ajax's bark had guided Sergeant Malik Thompson through 7 years of narcotics raids, until the night a bullet tore through the dog's flank. Malik carried Ajax's limp body through a hail of gunfire, his voice raw with commands no one could hear. The vet said Ajax would never walk again. Malik retired him, but Ajax whimpered each time his leash hung idle. On Malik's last patrol, Ajax limped to the squad car, nuzzling his partner's palm. They drove to their first bus site, a derelict warehouse now a community garden. Malik buried Ajax's badge beneath a sapling. Rest now, hero, he murmured. The tree blooms scarlet every spring, a tribute louder than any bark. Rookie officer Priya Kapoor froze outside the locked thrift store, her training clashing with the desperation in the air. A deaf man, armed and cornered, held a cashier hostage over stolen painkillers, meant for his terminally ill wife. Priya's hands trembled as she holstered her weapon and raised her palms. I know ASL, she signed, recalling nights teaching her nonverbal sister. The man's eyes widened. For hours, they signed. Grief, fear, a plea for mercy. Priya promised to hand-deliver the medication herself. When he surrendered, the cashier hugged him, whispering, I lost my son to cancer too. Priya's body cam footage went viral, sparking statewide reforms for crisis negotiation training. Years later, she received a postcard from the man's wife. He's gone, but your hands gave him peace. Priya now trains officers in silence, the language of listening. Retired janitor Walter Briggs shuffled into the precinct, clutching a rusted lunchbox found behind a jail cell radiator. Inside, a 1983 love letter to Marie and a diamond ring. Thought it was trash, he muttered. Detective Harlow Chen, a cold case specialist, traced the letter to Frank Voss, a convict who died in that cell, jailed for robbing the same jewelry store where the ring was stolen. Marie, now 82, lived in a hospice, her walls plastered with unsent letters to Frank. He wanted to propose that night. She wept. But I told him not to come. The cops were waiting. Harlow placed the ring in her palm. She died hours later, smiling. The lunchbox sits in Harlow's office, a relic of love outlasting guilt. Every winter, the precinct's brick walls were vandalized with crimson wings, a taunt to Lieutenant Omar Cruz. The artist? A homeless teen, Jaden, whose brother Omar had been shot in a mistaken raid. During a blizzard, Omar tracked Jaden to a frozen underpass. Instead of cuffs, he tossed him spray cans. Paint your truth, he said. Jaden's mural exploded. A faceless cop, a halo of bullets, a child hiding in a closet. Officers gathered, silent. Omar commissioned Jaden to redesign the precinct's lobby. The once defiant wings now frame a memorial plaque to the unseen. We failed you. Jaden, now a mentee, whispers to Omar, you didn't look away. School crossing guard Edie Morrow had memorized every child's laugh until a speeding driver ignored her stop sign, paralyzing a girl named Lily. Edie quit, drowning in guilt. But Lily's mother tracked her down, wheelchair-bound Lily in tow. She misses your jokes, the mother said. Edie returned, stricter, fiercer. One rainy morning, the same driver ran the crosswalk again. Edie lunged, shoving a toddler's stroller clear. Her legs shattered, but she gripped the driver's windshield, reciting his license plate through gritted teeth. At the trial, Lily handed Edie a drawing, a superhero with a stop sign shield. Edie's cane now bears the toddler's name, Ava, born twice. Homeless veteran Elijah Prophet Green spent years muttering warnings to pedestrians. Officers dismissed him until the day he shoved a tourist from a sniper's bullet. The shooter, a vengeful ex-cop, had targeted the mayor's parade. The Prophet's file revealed he was a decorated Marine sniper and the ex-cop's former commander. Detective Rosa Vega found him feeding pigeons post-shooting. You knew, she said. He nodded. Saw his shadow in my scope again. Rosa lobbied for his Medal of Honor reinstatement and a VA home. At the ceremony, the prophet saluted her, then vanished. He now sends Rosa postcards, coordinates of missing persons, all found alive. SWAT Sergeant Diego Herrera stormed a drug den, expecting chaos. Not a sobbing girl in a frosting-stained dress. It was her 7th birthday. Her addict father had traded her for a hit. Diego holstered his rifle, crouched, and sang Feliz Cumpleaños as his team raided the back rooms. The girl, Lucia, clung to his vest, whispering, "Are you my present?" Diego's wife, infertile for years, met Lucia at the station. 2 months later, fostering became adoption. Every year, Lucia leaves a cupcake on their porch for the man who blew out the bad guys. Diego keeps the bullets from that raid in a jar labeled Best Trade Ever. Librarian Maeve Collins called 911 weekly about vandalized books until Officer Raj Patel noticed the pattern. Every damaged novel featured single mothers. Maeve confessed, "It's me. My daughter, she's gone." Her child had died in foster care while Maeve battled addiction. Raj, a foster dad himself, didn't arrest her. Instead, he organized a Storytime for Second Chances program. Maeve read to foster kids. Raj guarded the doors. One night, a teen vandal hurled a copy of Matilda at Maeve. She opened it to a note. "I aged out today. Nowhere to go." Maeve took her in. The library's vandalism? Now love letters and margin notes. Trooper Gwen Cooper patrolled I-95, haunted by the trucker who jumped from an overpass onto her cruiser. His suicide note, "Tell my wife I'm sorry." Gwen tracked the widow, Laura, who spat, "He abandoned us. Why save his apology?" Years later, Gwen stopped a swerving semi. The driver, Laura, diabetic and seizing. Gwen jabbed her with insulin, rerouted traffic, and stayed until medics arrived. "You're why he wrote that note," Laura realized. "He saw your kindness in a rest stop video." They now meet annually at the overpass, releasing paper cranes with his words, "Forgiveness is a slow highway." Detective Lila Park discovered a pattern in cold cases. Victims' wrists bore tiny firefly tattoos. The link? All had been rescued from a cult's underground bunker as children. The cult's leader, the Lightkeeper, had branded them as guides to darkness. Lila infiltrated a survivors group where a woman named Cora gripped her arm. "He's back," she hissed. A coded journal led Lila to a lighthouse where the Lightkeeper, now a frail old man, whispered, "I kept them safe from worse monsters." Lila arrested him but burned the journal. The survivors' lit fireflies now glow at annual vigils, symbols of rebellion, not fear. Every midnight, Officer Javier Ruiz found roses at a bus stop where a teen had been murdered. The culprit? Miss Eudora, the victim's neighbor, who'd watched him bleed out while dialing 911 too late. Javier knelt beside her one night. "Let him go," he urged. She confessed, "I freeze when guns shout." Javier began joining her vigils, replacing roses with sunflower seeds, the boy's favorite. The stop is now a garden, its bench engraved, "For those who bloom in silence." Eudora tends it daily, her hands steady. A cluster of helium balloons tangled in a power line triggered a blackout and a 911 call from a girl. "My brother's up there." Rookie firefighter turned cop Finn O'Reilly scaled the pole, finding a child's shoe and a note. "I'm sorry, Ellie." The brother was imaginary, a grief construct for Ellie, whose twin had drowned. Finn, a twin himself, strung Christmas lights around the pole, telling Ellie he sends sparks now. Every blackout, Ellie leaves a balloon there. Finn collects them, releasing one yearly at his brother's grave. Officer Nora Kim frequented a cart where barista Marco made mochas with cinnamon hearts. One day, he slid her a napkin. "Help, he's in my basement." Nora's raid uncovered Marco's trafficked cousin, chained for a decade. Marco vanished post-rescue, leaving Nora an espresso machine and a note. "You're my sister now." She tracked him to the border where he'd been deported. They meet via smuggled letters. Nora's precinct drinks his cinnamon mochas daily, each cup a prayer for reunion. A string of drownings baffled cops, victims found with puppet strings tied to their wrists. The killer? Retired puppeteer Silas, whose daughter had drowned while he performed Pinocchio. He recreated her death, jury-rigging victims' limbs with a fishing line. Detective Amir Hassan, a former theater kid, challenged Silas to a puppet duel in the precinct. "You're playing God," Amir spat, snapping the strings. Silas collapsed, sobbing, "I just wanted her to move again." Amir donated Silas's puppets to a children's hospital, their strings now sutures for joy. Kabi Yusuf picked up a fare, a woman shivering in a wedding dress. "Drive fast," she begged. Her fiancé's body lay in a motel, overdose suspected. Yusuf, an ex-paramedic, revived him with Narcan and CPR. The couple vanished, leaving Yusuf's back seat strewn with rice and a diamond earring. He pinned it to his visor. Years later, a teen passenger gasped, "That's my mom's." Yusuf met the couple, now sober, parents to 3. Their wedding vow renewal? In his cab, meter running on gratitude. A shoplifting grandma, Mabel, always stole oatmeal and denture cream. Officer Tessa Wu arrested her but drove her home, to a shack housing her grandson, whose parents had OD'd. Tessa bought oatmeal monthly, slipping in cash. When Mabel died, the boy, Kai, showed up at the precinct with her locket. Inside, a photo of Tessa. "She said you're my angel," he stammered. Tessa fostered him, teaching him to cook. Their food truck, Mabel's Bowls, now feeds the homeless, oatmeal topped with gold glitter. She loved sparkle, Kai says. A suicidal violinist, Elena, played a dirge on a rooftop. Officer Carlos Gomez, a former music teacher, grabbed a cello from a pawn shop and climbed up. They duetted for hours, Shostakovich morphing into jazz. Elena surrendered, but her violin was confiscated as evidence. Carlos crowdfunded a replacement, etching the rooftop's coordinates into the wood. She's now first chair in the city orchestra. Every encore she nods to Carlos in the front row. Their secret sheet music? The 911 calls transcript. Detective Anika Patel noticed a laundromat's dryers ran 24/7, even when empty. The owner, grieving widow Rosa, believed the heat summoned her husband's ghost. Undercover, Anika washed her uniform, listening. Rosa's ghost was a homeless teen, Mateo, stealing warmth. Anika connected him to Rosa, whose son had died in foster care. They now run a nighttime shelter in the laundromat. The dryers hum lullabies. Anika's badge, patched with a sock Mateo lost in the wash. K9 officer Danny Cruz befriended a dog walker, Iris, whose pack always included a stray. One night, the stray led Danny to a bunker, a missing girl inside, chained. Iris confessed, the dogs whisper. The girl's parents sued Iris for reckless rescue, but Danny testified, she hears what we can't. Iris now trains K9s. The stray scout wears a badge, deputy sniffer. Danny's desk holds Scout's paw print, stamped on every case they close. Retired Chief Margaret Lowe's journal, donated to the precinct, revealed unsolved cases annotated with grocery lists and doodles. Officer Pete Ramirez noticed a sketch of a playground slide linked to a 1997 kidnapping. The slide, long removed, once stood near Margaret's home. Pete found a time capsule buried beneath, a child's bracelet and a confession. I took her. Couldn't save her from her dad. The kidnapper, a social worker, had died years prior. Pete tracked the now adult victim, a teacher fostering abused kids. She hugged the bracelet. He was the only one who tried. Margaret's journal now rests in her classroom, its margins filled with students' hopes. A bullet-riddled ice cream truck careened into a parade, driver bleeding out. Officer Sofia Rivera recognized him, Carlos, a fugitive who'd saved her from a gang ambush as a teen. He gasped, "Tell Maria, her dad's sorry," handing Sofia a melted popsicle stick with GPS coordinates. The coordinates led to a shack holding Maria, his daughter, trafficked for ransom. Sofia stormed the site, radioing Carlos's badge number, retired but still in her heart. Maria, now Sofia's foster daughter, repaints the ice cream truck yearly. Its jingle? Carlos's voicemail tone, preserved on an old flip phone. A bicycle chained to a stop sign for years, rusting under teddy bears and notes, haunted Officer Ben Carter. Its owner, Leah, had been killed by a drunk driver, Ben's first unsolved case. One night, a teen added a fresh note, "I saw the car. License plate 346XJU. The plate belonged to a now sober judge who turned himself in, sobbing. I mentored Leah's brother. Ben arranged a meeting. The brother spat, "I don't want him jailed. I want him to fix what's broken." The judge funds a bike share program for at-risk teens. Leah's ghost bike? Now the program's logo. A serial killer taunted Detective Renee Lee with crossword clues carved into victims. The final clue, 17 across, your greatest regret. Renee's mind raced to her sister, a missing persons case she'd botched. The killer's lair held her sister's necklace. Renee collapsed until she spotted a crossword book with her sister's handwriting. The killer was her sister, alive, seeking revenge for Renee's doubt. "You gave up on me?" she hissed. Renee disarmed her, whispering, "I never stopped solving you." They now run a cold case nonprofit, crosswords they're coded for hope. Sister Agnes, a nun in a neon-lit soup kitchen, called 911 weekly about a sinner in the alley. Officers dismissed her until rookie Luke Chan responded and found a teen, Jonah, injecting himself. "He's my nephew," Agnes admitted. "I promised his mom I'd save him." Luke, a former addict, taught Jonah to tattoo over track marks with Agnes's favorite Bible verses. At Jonah's overdose, Luke revived him with Narcan, then showed his own tattoo, Psalm 34:18. Jonah now inks that verse on recovering addicts. Agnes's kitchen glows neon for those who wander in the dark. Transit cop Malik Jones memorized every commuter's face, except the woman who jumped every Friday, always caught by him. She wore a wedding ring but no tan line. Malik tailed her to a dementia clinic where she'd forgotten her husband's death. He began rescuing her weekly, playing along. "Ma'am, your husband's waiting upstairs," he'd lie, escorting her to a bench. She died months later, leaving Malik a note, "Thank you for letting me love him twice." Her family funds dementia training for transit cops. Malik keeps her photo in his booth, labeled Friday's Angel. A thief stole wallets but left photo booth strips of victims mid-laugh. Detective Nina Cruz traced the film to a vintage booth in a mall. The bandit was Lila, a teen foster runaway collecting proof of joy. Nina arrested her but bought the booth, letting Lila curate a joy gallery in the precinct. Lila's foster parents framed her sentence, community service as the department's photographer. Her first exhibit, cops mid-laugh, wallets returned. SWAT sniper Eli Martinez noticed hives on a stakeout roof. The beekeeper Grace was a widow whose husband died in Eli's botched raid. "Bees don't hold grudges," she said, handing him honey. Eli, allergic, ate it anyway. Rushed to the ER, he woke to Grace's note, "Sweetness requires risk." He quit SWAT, turning the roof into a trauma retreat for cops. Grace's hives thrived there. Eli's EpiPen, engraved with "Breathe." A carousel's Calliope played Morse code, "Help." Officer Tasha Green found a girl, Zoe, duct-taped beneath the ride. Her kidnapper, the carnival owner, had hidden her for a decade. Zoe's mother, a deaf pianist, had taught her Morse code through lullabies. Tasha, adopting Zoe, learned signing to honor her past. The carousel now plays her mother's music, its code retired. A payphone rang non-stop at a boarded-up diner. Officer Ray Nguyen answered. "I'm scared," a child whispered. Tracing the call led to a 1989 cold case, a boy who'd vanished from the diner. Ray found the boy's skeleton in the walls, a diary detailing abuse. The call was static, but Ray swore he heard, "Thank you." He turned the diner into a memorial, the payphone preserved. Parents leave toys there now, whispering secrets to the static. Detective Luann Park noticed a TikTok trend. Teens reenacting a 15-year-old cold case's final moments. The choreography matched the victim's last steps, captured on a gas station's CCTV. Luann tracked the creator, a girl named Tessa, the victim's secret daughter, raised by adoptive parents. Tessa's viral dance unearthed a witness, a retired cashier who'd seen the killer's tattoo. It led to a landscaper, the victim's ex, who confessed mid-mowing a cemetery lawn. Tessa now runs dance workshops for cold case families. Luann's badge, Tessa's first trophy, engraved, "Rhythm Never Lies." K9 Luna, trained to sniff USB drives, unearthed a buried hard drive in a drug bust. Officer Samir Hassan, a tech illiterate, decoded it. Child trafficking videos starring a mayoral candidate. Samir's autistic son, mesmerized by patterns, spotted a reflection, the candidate's lake house. The raid freed 12 kids. Luna retired as a therapy dog for survivors. Samir's son now trains canines to hack physical data. The mayor's lake house? A coding camp for foster kids. Luna's old vest hangs in Samir's locker, a USB drive sewn into the lining. Barber Hector Razor Mendez trimmed cops' hair for free until a gang threatened his shop over unpaid protection money. Officer Ivy Chen posed as his niece, sweeping hair clippings for DNA. One strand matched a gang leader's rare genetic disorder. Hector's shop burned down post-arrest. Ivy rebuilt it as a youth center, its chairs salvaged from the ashes. Hector trims hair there weekly, charging kids a joke per cut. The gang leader's sentence, reduced for tutoring Hector in chess. "Checkmate," Hector says, grinning. A library's overdue book, returned 40 years late, contained a ransom note. $10K or she's gone. Librarian Mr. Ellis recognized the borrower, his childhood friend, presumed runaway. Detective Rosa Morales traced the note to a retired cop who'd faked the kidnapping to fund his daughter's surgery. The victim, now a nurse, donated the $10K to the library. Mr. Ellis hosts story hours for her pediatric patients. The overdue book, The Secret Garden, its margins filled with apology notes. A ferry captain dumped evidence bags into the river until Officer Dev Patel, undercover as a deckhand, spotted a body in a duffel. The captain, a former Coast Guard hero, was hiding his Alzheimer's wife's mercy killing. Dev, whose mother had Alzheimer's, falsified logs to protect him. The captain turned himself in, leaving Dev his ferry. Dev now sails dementia patients at sunset, their memories scattered on the waves. The duffel, repurposed as a lifebuoy cover. A thief stole only stuffed bears from a toy store. Officer Layla Cruz discovered the culprit, a girl, Aina, whose sister died in foster care. The bears matched her sister's teddy, lost during a botched removal. Layla reunited Anna with her estranged father, a recovering addict. The store owner gifted Anna the entire bear collection. She now donates them to foster kids, each tagged, "You're held." Layla keeps one on her dashboard, its ribbon a handcuff key. Retirees at the VFW bingo hall passed coded messages about arson jobs. Officer Marco Torres, posing as a caller, noticed Mrs. Wu's trembling hands. Her grandson was the ringleader, threatening her nursing home. Marco staged a fake raid, letting the grandson flee. Mrs. Wu later turned him in, whispering, "Better cells than coffins." The bingo hall now funds rehab scholarships. Marco calls numbers weekly, using the grandson's inmate ID as the jackpot. A florist delivered black roses to officers' funerals until rookie Jada Kim noticed a STEM's GPS chip. It led to a cold storage unit holding a coma patient, the florist's wife, preserved illegally for a decade. Jada connected him to a cryonics lab where his wife's body now rests legally. He sends white roses annually on Jada's birthday. Her wedding bouquet? Black roses, for the cop who let love linger. Pigeons swarmed a precinct daily, legs tagged with cold case clues. Officer Rajiv Singh traced them to a mute homeless man, Arlo, who'd witnessed his sister's murder. Arlo sketched the killer's face in charcoal ash. The killer, a firefighter, had saved Rajiv's life years prior. Rajiv arrested him mid-inferno. Arlo now paints murals for fire victims. The pigeons, retired as therapy birds. Rajiv's helmet bears Arlo's ash sketch, laminated, truth flies. A chop shop repaired stolen cars for free, leaving them outside struggling families' homes. Officer Gwen Cole tracked the ringleader, a single dad, Tomas, whose daughter needed a heart transplant. Gwen busted the shop, but hired Tomas as the precinct mechanic. He fixed her cruiser the night she raced to donate her son's organs. His daughter got the heart. Gwen's dashboard, a toy wrench from Tomas, fix the broken, keep the rest. Officer Vanessa Cole responded to a warehouse fire, expecting arson, not a malnourished circus tiger pacing a smoke-filled cage. The owner had fled, leaving the beast named Sultan to burn. Vanessa, a veteran with PTSD from overseas tours, saw herself in Sultan's panicked eyes. She shattered the lock, whispering, "Run with me." Sultan followed her to safety, collapsing in the precinct parking lot. A sanctuary vet warned he'd never trust humans again, but Vanessa spent nights reading Hemingway to him through the bars. On her last day before medical retirement, Sultan nuzzled her palm. He now lives on her ranch, a therapy animal for traumatized cops. Her PTSD meds, replaced by his thunderous purr. 70-year-old Marisol tagged police cruisers with chalk outlines of her granddaughter, killed in a drive-by. Officers mocked her until rookie Luis Garcia noticed her drawings matched fresh gang tattoos. "She's alive," Marisol insisted. Luis traced the tattoos to a human trafficking ring. His raid found Marisol's granddaughter, forced to ink gang symbols. Marisol's chalk outlines had been coded maps of hideouts. The gang's leader, her estranged son, spat, "You chose her over me?" Marisol now runs a mural program for ex-cons. Her first canvas, her son's prison wall, painted with her granddaughter's face. Dispatcher Clara Wu answered a call to opera singing, a soprano aria masking whispered coordinates. The caller, a kidnapped diva, used her final performance's libretto to signal Morse code. Clara, a former music major, decoded Warehouse 12, Rafters. SWAT stormed the site during the aria's crescendo. The diva, bound and gagged, had memorized her captor's ledger. Her recording of the 901 call went platinum, funding a music school for trafficking survivors. Clara conducts its choir, her baton a snapped zip tie. A hospice quilting club stitched patterns matching unsolved murder sites. Detective Maravas discovered the quilters were victims' mothers, embedding clues in thread. One quilt's jagged seams pointed to a landfill, where a mayor's son's body lay. The mayor had buried his son's overdose to avoid scandal. Mara leaked the quilt to media, sparking a reckoning. The quilters now teach grieving families to sew justice. Mara's vest is lined with their scraps, each patch a silent promise. A skateboarder filmed cops beating a teen, but Officer Tariq Anwar noticed the video's timestamp matched his own dashcam. The victim had planted drugs on Tariq's partner, framing him. Tariq, a former pro skater, challenged the teen to a board duel. "Land this trick, I'll erase the video." The teen crashed, confessing to a gang's blackmail. Tariq now coaches him in skate competitions. The viral video, edited to show Tariq's handshake with the teen, captioned, "Second chances, grind harder." A bakery's midnight deliveries always coincided with gang meetups. Officer Hannah Lee posed as a driver, tasting a cupcake laced with a tracking microchip. The baker, a widower, had baked them to trace his daughter's killers. Hannah raided the gang using his data, but spared the baker jail. He now trains ex-cons in pastry arts. Hannah's wedding cake? His infamous red velvet tracker, its GPS replaced with a sugar dove. A funhouse mirror maze held a 20-year-old echo, a girl's voice pleading, "Find me." Officer Raj Patel discovered the owner's son had recorded over old intercoms to mask his sister's kidnapping. Raj played the tapes backward, revealing coordinates to her shallow grave. The brother, now a senator, confessed during a fundraiser. The maze's mirrors now hang in missing persons units, reflecting endless hope. A canary abandoned at a crime scene sang a tune Detective Jonah Cruz recognized, his late wife's ringtone. The bird's owner, a trafficked teen, had mimicked the melody to signal Jonah. Her captor was Jonah's informant, exploiting his grief. Jonah stormed the hideout, the canary in his coat. The teen, now his foster daughter, teaches birds to mimic SOS calls. Jonah's ringtone, her laughter, saved forever. A wishing fountain's coins held engraved confessions. "I drove drunk, I lied under oath." Officer Lila Torres traced them to a retired judge cleansing his guilt. His final coin, "I freed a killer." The killer had murdered Lila's sister. She confronted the judge, now dying. "Help me fix it," he rasped. Lila used his fortune to fund cold case tech. The fountain, now a memorial, its waters silencing regrets. Captain Elena Ruiz walked her final beat, scattering her late canine's ashes at sites they'd saved. A school, a bridge, a diner. At the last stop, a homeless vet handed her a puppy, her canine's cloned service dog. The vet, a former lab tech, had used ashes from her uniform. Elena's retirement speech trended, "Heroes aren't born, they're forged in the echoes we leave." The pup, Echo, now leads academy drills. Elena's badge melted into Echo's collar tag. A dispatcher's graveyard shift turned surreal when a caller hummed a lullaby from Officer Ramona Lee's childhood. A melody her late mother, a murdered singer, had written. The caller, a dementia patient, kept repeating, "She's in the walls." Ramona traced the number to a demolished music hall. Digging through rubble, she found a time capsule, her mother's demo tape, and a fan letter from the caller. The tape's final track, Neon Lullaby, became a viral anthem for missing artists. Ramona's patrol car now plays it nightly, lulling the city's sleepless. A stalker mailed vintage postcards to victims, each stamped with coordinates. Detective Amir Hassan recognized the locations, sites from his grandfather's unsolved 1950s cases. The stalker, a terminally ill historian, confessed, "Your grandfather saved my mother. I'm finishing his work." The coordinates led to bodies of forgotten victims. Amir reburied them with honors, their headstones etched with postcard snippets. The historian's final card read, "Justice has no expiration date." Amir mails copies to cold case families, unsigned but unstoppable. Officer Nina Patel noticed tomato plants sprouting from a crack house roof. The gardener, a mute teen named Jax, grew them to feed his sister, trapped inside. Nina staged a fire inspection, rescuing the girl, but Jax vanished. Years later, Nina found a rooftop farm atop the rehab building. Jax, now a chef, serves free meals there. His sister's first dish? Stuffed tomatoes. Nina keeps a potted plant on her desk, its soil mixed with crack house ash. Cabby Yuri picked up a sobbing woman who left a newborn in his back seat. Officer Lila Chen, reviewing dashcam footage, spotted a hospital bracelet. The baby belonged to Yuri's estranged daughter, a trafficking victim. Yuri drove non-stop to find her, GPS pings guiding Lila's team. Reunited, the daughter whispered, "I named her Hope." Yuri's cab is now a mobile daycare for struggling moms. His first fare, Hope's giggles, recorded over the meter's cha-ching. Security guard Mrs. Wu reported dancing ghosts in a cemetery. Officer Carlos Rivera found homeless veterans illuminating graves with glow sticks for a World War II vet's birthday, his headstone long eroded. Carlos joined their ritual, learning the vet had saved their grandfathers in battle. They rebuilt the headstone, etching, "Unknown to many, father to heroes." The cemetery now hosts veteran reunions, glow sticks replaced with eternal flames. A serial burglar left 3D printed puzzle boxes at crime scenes. Detective Priya Kapoor solved one, finding a locket with her missing niece's photo. The burglar was Priya's sister, staging crimes to expose her husband's trafficking ring. Priya arrested him mid-auction, her niece hidden in a puzzle box shipment. The sister now designs escape rooms for trafficking survivors. Priya's badge hangs in the lobby. Its code, "Family cracks you open." A deaf girl, Maya, set off a jewelry store alarm by accident. Officer Samir Hassan, fluent in ASL, calmed her, then noticed her singing, "Bad men hurt mama." The store owner was her stepfather, forging her mom's suicide. Samir's body captured Maya's testimony. The mom, alive but imprisoned, reunited with Maya at the station. Samir now funds ASL classes for cops. Maya's first lesson? Listen with your eyes. A veteran's suicide note led to a toy soldier in his fist, a match to a 40-year-old unsolved kidnapping. Officer Tasha Green tracked the soldier's manufacturer to a retired cop who'd rescued the boy, but failed to reunite him with his addict mother. The vet was the boy. Tasha buried him beside his mother's unmarked grave. The toy soldier sits in the evidence room, its helmet engraved, "Some battles end in peace." Librarian Miss Gray reported whispers in the crime section, a voice begging, page 22. Officer Rajiv Singh found a hollowed-out book holding a flash drive. The files implicated a judge in his cousin's overdose. Rajiv leaked the drive anonymously. The judge resigned, funding rehab in his cousin's name. Miss Gray now curates a living book section, recovering addicts telling their stories. Rajiv's first read, his cousin's unfinished memoir. Pigeons swarmed a precinct daily, legs tagged with cold case clues. Officer Jonah Cruz traced them to a mute homeless man, Arlo, who'd witnessed his sister's murder. Arlo sketched the killer's face in charcoal ash. The killer, a firefighter, had saved Jonah's life years prior. Jonah arrested him mid-inferno. Arlo now paints murals for fire victims. The pigeons? Retired as therapy birds. Jonah's helmet bears Arlo's ash sketch, laminated, "Truth flies." A teen's viral dance trend included a subtle hand signal, a domestic violence SOS. Officer Lila Park, scrolling during lunch, recognized it from a seminar. The dancer Maya was trapped with her abusive stepfather, using TikTok to avoid suspicion. Lila staged a live stream giveaway at Maya's house, SWAT disguised as camera crews. Maya's final dance ended with her stepfather's arrest. She now trains influencers in covert signaling. Lila's phone wallpaper, Maya's first post-arrest video, dancing free. Canine Rex barked obsessively at parking meters. Officer Amir Khan discovered they'd been hacked to collect credit card data. The culprit? A teen prodigy funding his sister's cancer treatment. Amir offered a plea deal, jail time erased if he helped the cybercrimes unit. The teen's code now tracks dark web traffickers. Rex guards his sister's hospital room, his collar a USB drive of her favorite lullabies. A homeless man conducted rush hour traffic with a broken baton. Officer Nina Singh, a former orchestra cellist, noticed his movements matched her old conductor, presumed dead after a mental breakdown. He'd faked his death to escape debtors. Nina reunited him with his estranged daughter, a symphony CEO. He now leads street-side Beethoven for commuters. Nina's ticket to his show? A Metro Pass she'll never swipe. A bulldozer unearthed a time capsule beneath a derelict playground. Photos of missing kids and a teacher's confession. Officer Raj Patel linked it to a retired educator who'd hidden students from abusive homes in the 1980s. The missing were alive, given new identities. Raj tracked one, now a foster mom, who whispered, "Tell her I'm safe." The playground's rebuild includes a memorial swing. Push harder, fly further. An Uber driver delivered a sobbing passenger to the precinct, muttering, "I can't hide it anymore." The passenger, a coroner, had evidence linking a senator to his wife's overdose. Officer Jada Kim protected her from the senator's goons, hiding her in a safe house disguised as a nail salon. The coroner now trains morticians in forensic activism. Jada's manicure? A tiny rip on her pinky. A burglar stole only diaries and journals. Detective Carlos Mendez found them stashed in a library attic, annotated by the thief, a lonely ex-teacher piecing together strangers' lives to write a novel. Carlos arrested him but published the novel anonymously. Proceeds fund writing workshops for inmates. The thief's sentence? Reduced for mentoring. Carlos keeps a page in his badge. Stories save, even stolen ones. A statue in Central Park whispered via hidden speakers, "Help me, Officer Grant." Grant had died 10 years prior. Officer Layla Torres found a homeless vet, Grant's former partner, using a walkie-talkie to cope with guilt over his death. Layla reprogrammed the speakers to play Grant's old patrol logs. The vet now gives park tours, Grant's voice guiding tourists. Layla's earpiece? Always tuned to channel Grant. A thief hacked a hospital vending machine, dispensing free snacks to kids' cancer wards. Officer Marco Velez traced the code to a terminal patient, Sophia, who'd rigged it for her little brother. Marco pretended not to notice until Sophia's funeral. Her brother now runs the hack legally, stickers on each snack. Sophia says, "Eat up." Marco's lunch? Always a vending machine granola bar. A rooftop library appeared overnight, books swapped via drone. Officer Aisha Khan tracked the librarian to a retired pilot smuggling banned texts to oppressed communities. Aisha joined the operation using patrol routes as delivery paths. The pilot's final flight ended in a crash, but Aisha keeps his logbook. Each drone carries his motto, "Words weigh nothing, change everything." A phantom semi haunted Highway 9. Its driver vanished with a load of vaccines. Officer Eli Martinez found it idling near a cliff, GPS rerouted by anti-vaxxers. Eli rescued the driver, a single dad who'd rigged the truck to protect his asthmatic son. The vaccines reached their clinic via a decoy convoy. Eli's son now wears the dad's trucker hat. Heroes drive quietly. A drug ring hid meth and lollipops. Officer Priya Rao noticed a spike in kids' ER visits. Their teeth glow under UV light. The Candyman was a dentist whose daughter needed a transplant. Priya raided his clinic but donated his equipment to low-income schools. The daughter got her kidney. Priya's son? The dentist's first patient post-parole. His payment? A lollipop labeled clean sweet. Squatters reported lion roars in a derelict zoo. Officer Tariq Anwar found a retired zookeeper hiding a rescued circus lioness, her cubs starving. Tariq smuggled them to a sanctuary, his cruiser scratched and reeking. The keeper now gives virtual tours, Tariq's scarred hood in every shot. The cubs, named Code 3 in Siren. A cold case went viral when teens recreated its clues in TikTok skits. Officer Luann Park spotted a comment, "My dad's trophy room has that knife." The dad was a retired cop who'd framed a teen. Luann live-streamed the raid, viewers hitting 2 million. The teen, now exonerated, hosts a true crime podcast. Luann's guest episode, How TikTok Toppled a Liar. An 80-year-old tagged police stations with Remember Ruby Hill. Officer Malit Cruz discovered Ruby was her sister, killed in a 1960s hate crime. The grandma's tags matched the killer's tattoo. He was alive, a decorated general. Malik leaked the evidence, sparking protests. The grandma's tags now hang in museums. Malik's locker? Papered with her spray-painted motto, "Justice can't retire." A homeless man took a bullet for a CEO during a mugging. Officer Nina Kapoor found he was the CEO's brother, disowned for addiction. The CEO funded rehab in his name. The brother overdosed post-recovery, leaving a note, "Tell her I stayed sober 100 days." Nina wears his sobriety chip on her badge. A mute girl handed officers melting ice cream cones with GPS trackers inside. Officer Carlos Ruiz traced them to a human trafficker's truck. The girl, orphaned by the trafficker, drew maps and sprinkles. Carlos adopted her, teaching her sign language. Her first word, Dad. His patrol car? Always stocked with cones. A homeless vet predicted crimes via Scrabble tiles. Officer Layla Singh dismissed him, until his tiles spelled bank heist 3 p.m. The vet was a former cryptologist with Alzheimer's. Layla placed him in a memory care home. His daily game? Solving cold cases. His last tile? Layla wins. A 1950s diner's jukebox played coded messages for drug drops. Officer Raj Patel, a vinyl collector, cracked the lyrics. The owner's granddaughter was being blackmailed. Raj staged a retro sock hop bust. The diner now hosts Narcotics Anonymous meetings, the jukebox playing recovery rhythm. A serial killer left marionettes at crime scenes. Detective Mara Voss realized the strings mimicked her daughter's ballet moves. The killer was her ex-husband seeking custody through terror. Mara's daughter testified via dance, her recital filmed as evidence. She now choreographs for trauma survivors. Mara's pendant? A broken puppet string. A widow mailed letters to her late husband's old patrol precinct. Officer Jake Rivera replied for years, pretending to be him, until she requested a visit. Jake confessed at her doorstep. She handed him a final letter. "I knew. Thank you for keeping him alive." Jake now writes to lonely seniors, signing "Your cop friend." If these stories gripped your soul, imagine what's next. Subscribe to the channel and join a family where every heartbeat matters. Hit the bell, because heroes don't just exist in flashlights and sirens. They're in the whispers that say, "Hold on." Don't miss the next episode. Your couch is our campfire.